What does your lover do for you that I can't? I didn't respond. I just shook my head. We've been together for a decade, married for 8, and we started as college sweethearts, each other's first and only. I always thought our relationship was unique and beautiful because of that. However, things took a turn when my wife started a new job. Initially reserved, she eventually made friends, especially with a group of girls, some of whom were single or divorced. They started going out for drinks and partying, and I noticed a change in her behavior. I tried talking to her about it, concerned about the impact on our relationship, but I didn't want to be controlling. The shift began affecting our intimacy. My wife, who wasn't one to initiate, became too tired or uninterested. She developed a fascination with her new manager, often bringing him up in conversations. When I questioned her, she dismissed my concerns and even asked if I regretted not having more experiences with other women. I reassured her that she was all I ever needed, but I sensed a moment of sadness in her eyes. Out of the blue, she proposed the idea of an open marriage to spice things up. I was taken aback because this wasn't the person I thought I knew. Initially, I refused and questioned if this had anything to do with the manager, to which she denied but admitted, feeling like she missed out on experiences. She wanted to explore this option without losing me, seeing it as a safer choice. As I reluctantly and naively agreed to open our marriage, I couldn't help but feel like we were playing with fire. Over the course of a year, my wife went on dates, had one-night stands, and eventually ended up in some kind of relationship with her manager. On my end, I had a few dates but struggled with the idea of one-night stands as it felt wrong to me. Despite my reservations, my wife would ask if I was fine, but her behavior remained unchanged. Eventually, I felt the love I had for her fading away, and it was eating me up inside. I went on a date with an amazing woman from South Korea, and it led to more dates and intimacy. The connection I had with her was unlike anything I had experienced before. Initially, my wife found it cute, but as months passed, she began questioning my relationship with my lover. I pointed out that this was her idea, and she was involved with the manager I had been concerned about. She became silent and looked like she wanted to say something, but held back. Suddenly, my wife started coming home early, surprising me with dinner and keeping the house extra clean. She began visiting my workplace to drop off lunch and initiated intimacy in the bedroom. While normally this would have made me ecstatic, something in me toward my wife had died, and it didn't hit the same. I felt like being with her was not fulfilling, and our sex life was devoid of any real love. I felt like a tourist in a hotel room that had been visited by many before me and will be visited after me. Curious about her change, I asked what inspired it. She claimed she wanted to show me that she loved me and was happy with me. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I questioned her about her friends, the manager, and her one-night stands. She didn't respond that day, simply going to bed in tears. The next day, she confessed that she wanted to close our marriage, admitting it was a horrible mistake and she regretted everything. She expressed a desire to refocus on our relationship. When I asked her what inspired all of this in the first place, she revealed that a group of friends planted the idea, and her manager surprisingly supported and encouraged the lifestyle. It began as an emotional affair, but only turned physical after we opened the marriage. As my wife described it, opening our marriage felt like being drunk behind the wheel of a speeding car. Thrilling and intoxicating. However, the consequences have become too overwhelming for her to bear. She now realizes that she never needed a comparison and that what we had was truly unique and special in her eyes. She feels like she has murdered our marriage and any chance of a life together. I expressed to her that I might never be able to see her as my wife again. And this revelation made her break down in front of me. I held her in silence as she cried, and she eventually fell asleep in my arms on the couch. Since then, she has left her job and cut off contact with all her friends, including her manager. However, I haven't cut contact with my lover, who has been a source of support during my lowest moments. Being lost in the situation, I decided to seek therapy. The therapist seemed experienced and unbiased, eager to help. In the first session, my wife took the opportunity to lay it all out. She confessed that her group of friends made her wonder if she had missed her chance by committing to her first boyfriend without other experiences. The new manager's advances and her friends' encouragement to explore this opportunity led to the idea of an open marriage. She felt guilty, so she didn't act on it until one of her friends suggested it as a loophole, claiming that some couples come out stronger because of it. As her so-called adventure unfolded, she realized it was intoxicating and blinding, but lacked real substance compared to the connection we had built over the years. She started questioning her reasons for pursuing this path. The therapy sessions became a platform for her to express remorse and understand the impact of her choices on our relationship. During our counseling sessions, my wife admitted that she could see the hurt in my eyes, but initially brushed it off as part of the adventure. It wasn't until she noticed the change in me that the gravity of the situation hit her. She began experiencing panic attacks and a pit in her stomach, seeking advice from her friends. However, instead of helping, they dismissed my reactions as normal for someone going through an open marriage. Realizing the toxicity of her friends and the threat they posed to our marriage, my wife distanced herself and embarked on a mission to win me back. I shared some aspects of the situation with the counselor, including my ongoing relationship with my lover. The counselor suggested that no resolution could be reached with my lover still in the picture, and recommended another appointment after tomorrow. In our second counseling session, I pressed my wife about whether anything physical happened before we opened our marriage. She hesitated and begged me not to make her say it, claiming it would destroy us. With some insistence, she revealed that although it wasn't physical, they touched themselves in front of each other. She tried to justify it as not technically cheating since it wasn't physical, leaving me utterly floored. My wife began shaking and hyperventilating, snot flowing from her nostrils as she apologized profusely. Even the counselor seemed taken aback, displaying disbelief at the revelation. My wife got on her knees, hugging my legs, expressing deep remorse. I asked her what changed her view of her manager, and she recounted overhearing him speak about her to a colleague. He considered her an easy conquest and a pleasant distraction with no intention of breaking up with his fiancée. This revelation left me grappling with a mix of shock, betrayal, and a profound sense of hurt. The situation has become a tangled mess, and I'm grappling with a flood of emotions. Learning how my wife was perceived by her manager, and realizing she betrayed me for a cheap thrill, it hurt. She even mentioned feeling like nothing more than a piece of meat to the guy, and the weight of it drove her to a dark place. She left her workplace and vomited in the parking lot, overwhelmed by the harsh reality. I confronted her, asking if she loved him and when she stopped loving me. Through tears, she insisted she never stopped loving me, which oddly makes it hurt even more. She acknowledged the foolishness of her actions, squeezing my arm with surprising strength. She expressed deep regret, admitting she messed up but desperately missing the connection we had before all this chaos. She even proposed moving away to start anew, just the two of us. In response, I told her I needed time away from her to process everything. She broke down sobbing and holding on to me as if I'd vanish. The counselor managed to convince her that time apart might help us heal. When we arrived home, I started packing. My wife received a video call from one of her former friends who was in tears. It turns out that after my wife resigned, this friend and the manager started a fling of their own. To complicate matters further, she had a pregnancy scare, adding to the drama. She had a boyfriend with whom she could envision a future. The reason for her fling? Curiosity about the experience, ironically mirroring the trend that led my wife down this path. Her boyfriend found out when he discovered an email discussing the potential pregnancy between the two. The manager, in turn, accused her of trying to trap him with a baby. The whole situation was absurd, and I couldn't bear to stay. I just turned and left, seeking refuge in an apartment. At my brother's recommendation, I consulted a divorce lawyer, taking precautions for my own well-being. Right now, I'm not inclined to fight for the marriage, and my wife seems to sense it. Before I left, she attempted to initiate intimacy, but when I refused, she erupted in frustration, questioning, "What does your lover do for you that I can't?" I didn't respond. Instead, I shook my head and told her that if after all that's happened, she still couldn't grasp the impact of her actions, then it's clear where our marriage is headed. I left without looking back. The sad truth is that she would do anything to turn back time and avoid making the same bad choices. But life doesn't work that way. As I walked away, I wished her good luck with a heavy heart.